and nice and settled in the hips.
Right.
There's certain large groups. So one group has a way of throwing in that form. Another is a way of throwing where you get a hold of the arm or something and you're using tegatana to throw. Another is that you are using this position of the arm to throw. And another is projecting the partner that way. Those are four sort of three basic groups. And then there's standalone Kokyu Nage techniques. So there are two ways of going about it. And this is also the way Saito Sensei explained. O-sensei was training in the Iwama Dojo. He said he would take one technique and O-sensei would just go through all of the attacks and any ways that he could get into that one technique. And then the different levels of that technique, meaning Kihon, Kino Nagari, Hawase, all sorts of different levels of timing. And the other way is to take an attack and figure out how many techniques do you know can you do from that one given attack. So it can either be technique-based as the point of reference, or it can be attack-based. And if you look at our curriculum for the Dan tests, you also see that we've split the techniques into those two categories. One is technique-based and one is attack-based. And the thought behind it is to get you to think about, these are two ways of indexing your techniques, either technique-based or attack-based. This morning I realized that there were a few that I wanted to get a hold of, which were based on the katadori techniques that we're doing here. We went through a whole series that we're going. And the one that I wanted to get was this one. We didn't get that one. And if you remember, we were doing yesterday this one. And you can see the similarity. So I'm doing Shomanuchi here. As soon as he grabs, I do Shomanuchi myself. And notice I'm getting a little bit off the line. I'm crossing over, and I want to get his hand as if I'm holding Sankyo. So in order to do that, I can't get Sankyo here. I've got pressure inwards. I do this with my arm, and then I can get around and get the grip here. From this point here, I'm bringing him over and around, and project him forward. So, as soon as he grabs, Shomanuchi, then in, curve the arm slightly, the hand here. Right? Right? In order to get the hand, you might want to drop it a little bit. Yeah, so it comes down to you. And if he's holding here, well, no matter what, you want to bring it in towards you. Don't try to work here. Let it drop a little bit. It's a little bit hard to get the grab here. So drop it. And when it drops down, as you turn, you can use the arm a little bit to curve slightly. And that should get you access to being able to grip here. And then from there, turn. The same thing, you know, come around here. What sometimes happens is he lets go with that hand. And if that's the case, you can bring him around and just do your basic hold form. So that would be kind of Uyowaza, an applied technique. Come around here and doing this technique. He lets go. Quite often, if he lets go, he's going to turn around that way. In that case, that would be one application. This would be a given situation. Another version is to, for that not to happen, is to get his arm here. At this point, right here, come around, get his arm. This version is connected to this one, which is also, I would classify as it would be like coming in and around the outside. Yesterday we were doing this Kokyu Nage, coming in from the outside and going down. Sometimes what happens is you start going this way instead of out. If you go to this side, here you can use this version instead. So the shoulder is being held, that hand goes inside and around. You don't stand here, you move to the rear, and you're standing in Kokyu hold position. And the hip brings the arm up like that. And then from there, at the meter, floating ribs. And whenever we're moving, we want to try to keep our arms in front of our center line. We don't want to try to be doing movements that are away from our center line. This is one I see sometimes people are doing, is they're bringing this arm way over here. When I'm going to the side, this is in front of my center. My center is lined up here, and I turn. So my arm isn't waving off to the side. I also, when I'm going in, I need to be aware of this. And you could do that to me in here if you wanted. It is basically the idea is to get away from here, and this is a kind of distraction. It's going towards his head. It's not this, but it's coming to the center and around. It's not going over there. I'm bringing my hand up my center. This hand is here and it's ready. If something were to happen, I would have this hand to protect me with. My center is going over here. Okay? So this is still center, and this is center here. And when I come around, then I'm using my center down, around and up. Hips go up here. And in. And finally, in all our throws, it's really important. You have to stand strong and very stable. Your ki has to be going outwards, and you should also have your ki connected to your partner, so you're feeling what's happening, so that you can tell how much dosage you're giving in terms of pain and other things that are making the person respond to the technique. But if you get over-involved, then too much of your awareness, your ki will be hooked up with your partner, and you could be brought off balance. That means you end up falling on top of them. So the idea of protecting your partner has also to do with, you have to stay centered and focused. You can't forget your partner, but if you become too involved, overly involved, then you lose your center. So in all of these techniques, but this is really one of them, I want to make sure that you're standing strong and tall. I'm feeling what Shuren is feeling in terms of my technique, but I'm not overdoing it. Again. So that was still working on stuff that's going on in the front. Today was announced as being Bushido Azan, and then against Shomunuchi, Yokomunuchi, Tsuki, and possibly some techniques against Gates. So we're going to go into Bushido Azan. And let's start from Ushiro Ryote. And that gives us one of the large groups of Kokyu Nage as the Kokyu form. Coming in here, I want to turn. In the old days, we turned to the outside. And that puts you in the position where you normally would be if you were doing this one. Later on, Saito Sensei also showed it turning to the inside. It's an easier turn, and I'm pretty sure it's because his knees were giving him trouble. And if you notice, we're positioned differently, but that's actually the position that we get into when we're doing this one where you let go. That's also bringing me to the front. So from here, when the inside brings me to the front, but it still gives me the Kokyu whole version of Kokyu Nage. I'd like you to use the outside entrance as a basic form. And in the outside entrance, you can go directly from here, or you can also take a slight step off the line of attack with the front foot, and then turn there. So, you should be able to do both. This one, turning from here and then into the side position. At the same time. Or using this as a starting point, going slightly out to the side, and then turning from there. Either way, it's supposed to be in one movement. Even if I'm taking the step out here, then it's supposed to be done as one. But that one movement will get you a little bit off the line and get you going, and it'll place you on the parallel line right away. And this one, I have to go from here to the parallel line. It's a bigger turn. Feels more difficult to me, but it's more direct. So be aware that there are two, and this is going to be outside for now. Okay? So let's do this in Kino Nagare form. So grabbing Ushiro Ryotodori in Kino Nagare is based on you start from the front. There are different ways of starting this. Mostly I call out his hand, but then I wait because it's up to him to cut me down and then to come around to get Ushiro Ryoto. Sometimes you see people offer the hand and then come in. You'll see both of these and probably some other variations as well. But in general, I call out and he cuts me down. And he comes in to hold. Now, when he comes in to grab me with the rear hand, I start to leap forward. And then I can make a larger version of this and then turn around again. So that's the long version of Kino Nagare. Calling out, I can sort of entice with this hand. As I start moving, I need it in front of me. I'm turning in the one direction, same hand all the time. This is way too long, but just to show. And then I reverse. Okay? So if you look at the basic form, we started here, and then I went to the outside. And that's basically what we're doing, but I start moving first, then I stop and reverse. So I'm leaning forward now to my right side, it's leading. I reverse and go around and come in. Now it's my left side that's leading, comes in here, I want his hand in front of me, and say now, reverse and around. Right. So now we're just shortening it. It comes in, grabs his hand, goes around. So, in general, you want to start large and then compact after these. So, the big flowing movements turn into the short one, but it's basically the same turn. It comes in here, I can go around. Comes in for the left, turn. Lead into Kokyu Nage. So, send him outwards. Now, comes into grab, and turn, and extend over his head. So the concept here when I'm initiating is, for instance, if I initiate, I can choose to continue and do my techniques from there, because I'm initiating and taking the initiative onward. But the concept here is I'm taking the initiative, but then I'm giving him a chance to do that. And so I'm creating what's called ski, an opening, by not continuing my initiation. So, and he cuts down and he goes into grab. If he doesn't cut down from this position, tries to go in and grab, then it's hard for him to get in because I'm controlling the center. So I'm letting him cut down and giving him the possibility. I'm enticing him, giving him the opening, and then enticing him to come and grab the hand. It's very important that he has to really make that grab, because it's dangerous for him as he goes around behind me if he isn't getting there to control either hand. So this one has to be controlled, and this one has to be controlled correctly. Okay? And then from there, I use the timing to go. In this technique, I just realized it's an important point because we're having some trouble with the down here, coming here. Quite often, if you're not active here, then your partner still has his or her front towards you. It can be a little bit difficult. What's a good idea is to twist a little bit. And then that brings your partner's center around in the direction that you need to throw. I had an extra program. So, forward, and this way. If I don't do that, then if the hip is reacting with soft hips, then they will probably turn. But if that happens, then it's going to be hard to get around, especially if your partner is taller than you. So, add that little pull, and then we'll turn that up. I have to wait until he gets there. It's almost the same technique as the one we were doing before, but I'm going down. You can train it from Aikido, from Kihon. You go in here. So let's start with that, and then we'll take the other one. So we're going to start with basic form. Enter in, lower your hips, and come up here. As you lead forward, your rear foot steps to the side and brings your partner down. You can actually just do a soft side fall from here, or even stop when you get to that point, if it's not cool. If there is room, just lie down, or take a soft fall forward, depending on what they're doing. But in order to get into the technique properly, let's do it from Kihon. So, getting your center down and back, your hands go in to your hips here, coming up. The lead hand is the one where your foot is forward. Lead hand here. And as you lead forward, so that you don't get your partner landing on top of you, as you lead forward, you escape to the rear by taking your foot back. Last time. When you're doing this technique, you're in this position, you should be in the same handi when you throw. Sometimes people step back, and if that happens, your point of balance is weak. You can end up landing badly yourself. So it's the same hanmi you start. You're coming in here, stepping up. Actually, the best thing, I see some people adjusting the front foot. Don't do that, adjust the rear foot. It doesn't matter that you're not in exact hanmi here, but it's the rear foot that gets you out of the way. The front foot doesn't. So, come in here, come up, the rear foot goes down, and you're actually creating a unstable base by leaving the foot. Last 5 minutes. Do it really slowly, but if you get the blend here.ありがとうございました。